You're tuning into the deep dive because you want to get smart and, well, you want to get smart efficiently. We get it.
We do.
Today, we're taking a story so familiar, it's practically part of your DNA, The Three Little Pigs.
Exactly. And you've shared with us, the classic telling and also a very grounded, let's say, literal analysis of this tale.
Right.
So our mission, to really unpack this, but through the lens of what's actually plausible.
Yeah.
We're aiming for those, surprising aha moments by questioning the story we think we know.
Okay, let's dive straight into the setup then. Both versions agree on this part. We've got three little pigs living with their mom, and like all good coming-of-age stories, the mother eventually gives them the nudge.
Yeah.
Time to head out, build your own lives. Seems simple enough, right?
It does on the surface, but, if we're putting on our literal thinking caps right from the start, it's worth noting the inherent, fantastical element of talking decision-making pigs in the first place sort of makes you wonder what kind of world we're even operating in here. But, okay, for the sake of our deep dive, let's just accept the premise, see where it takes us.
Agreed. So the first little pig, eager to get settled, he chooses straw for his building material.
Right. Quick and easy.
The traditional story tells us this was because it was quick and easy. Our first pig wasn't exactly known for his elbow grease.
And the literal analysis really jumps on the drawbacks of that choice. I mean, sure, you can pile straw into a structure,
Kinda.
but it offers minimal protection. Think about wind, rain,
Yeah.
and, a determined wolf. Plus, straw is highly flammable. It wouldn't take much for this little pig's investment to go up in smoke, literally.
Which is, of course, exactly what happens. Well, along comes the wolf, delivers that legendary line, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down.
The classic.
And just like that, whoosh, straw house demolished. Our first little pig makes a hasty retreat to his brother's place. You almost feel bad for him. Almost.
Almost. Okay, so the second pig, he decides to put in a little more effort, opting for sticks.
A step up, he thinks.
Right, figures it's a bit more robust than straw. He probably thought he was being pretty clever, actually.
He did. But the literal analysis pokes some holes in this plan, too. It raises a really good point.
Yeah.
How are these sticks even put together?
Exactly. Were they just, leaning against each other? Was there any actual construction happening?
Right.
Because without proper joinery, nails, or even rope, a stick house, well, the analysis suggests it wouldn't offer much more resistance than a strong breeze, let alone a, big bad wolf.
Yeah, not much better than straw, really.
Pretty much. And the traditional story plays this out. The wolf arrives, same threat, maybe takes slightly deeper breath this time.
Maybe.
And boom, down comes the stick house. Now we've got two little pigs huddled together, running off to find their more industrious sibling.
And that brings us to the third little pig, the one who decided to go all in with bricks.
The sensible one.
The story emphasizes his hard work, taking his time, laying each brick carefully. He was clearly thinking long term.
And here, finally, the literal analysis gives a thumbs up. Brick, properly laid, is a durable material. It can withstand quite a bit.
Okay, so some realism creeping in.
Absolutely. A well-constructed brick house offers significant protection against the elements and, theoretically, against a huffing and puffing wolf. This is where the fairy tale starts to inch closer to the realm of possibility, at least structure-wise.
So the wolf rolls up to the brick house, totally full of confidence after his first two successes.
Oh, yeah, he's on a roll.
He tries his usual tactic. Little pigs, let me come in. But this time he gets that resounding, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Love that line.
And of course, the classic threat follows. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down.
Ooh.
But nothing. Crickets.
Right. He huffs, he puffs, probably turns a, lovely shade of purple. But that brick house isn't budging. Not an inch.
And this is where the literal analysis really kind of kicks in on the wolf himself, right? His capabilities.
Oh, definitely. It makes you stop and think, just how much lung power does this wolf supposedly possess? Because, when you look at the average lung capacity of a wolf or even a human, the idea of generating enough force to topple any kind of structure, even a flimsy one with breath alone, it's frankly ludicrous.
We struggle to blow out birthday candles sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this iconic threat, literally speaking, it's pure fantasy, doesn't hold up at all.
It really makes you wonder why blowing was his go-to move. Maybe he skipped wolf fitness class.
Maybe. But yeah, when the huffing and puffing fails spectacularly, the wolf has to rethink his strategy. He decides the chimney is his next point of entry. Sneaky.
I'll give him that. It's a change of plan.
It is a change of tactics. However, the literal analysis throws up a few red flags here, too.
Okay, like what?
Well, firstly, the plausibility of a wolf, even a large one, actually fitting down a standard chimney. It's questionable. They're not exactly built like eels, you know?
Fair point. Not very aerodynamic.
Not at all. But okay, let's suspend our disbelief for a second and assume he somehow manages to squeeze through.
Okay, suspension engaged. So down the chimney he goes, or at least tries to. But the third little pig, being the smart cookie he is,
The planner.
has anticipated this and has a little surprise waiting. A big pot of boiling water right there on the fire.
Ouch.
Splash. The wolf falls in, and as the traditional story tells it, lets out a yelp, leaps out, and runs away, never to bother the pigs again. End of story.
Right. Now, the literal analysis has, let's just say, a field day with this part.
Not bad.
Consider the reality of falling into a pot of boiling water. The immediate scalding would be severe, horrific even.
Yeah, that's not just a quick dip.
No. The likelihood of the wolf then being able to simply leap out, relatively unscathed, mind you, and make a clean getaway, it's incredibly slim, like 0 chance.
So, biologically speaking.
Biologically speaking, he'd be looking at significant burns, shock, probably instant incapacitation. The analysis humorously suggests he'd be cooked medium well, and that the quick escape just cheats biological reality quite significantly. There's no coming back from that.
It definitely paints a less dramatic and perhaps, more realistic and gruesome picture of the aftermath.
Absolutely.
So the big showdown, the climax of the story, really relies on a series of events that, when you look at them literally, are pretty far-fetched.
It really highlights the power of storytelling, doesn't it? To make us suspend our disbelief. And maybe the fact that sometimes the narrative itself trumps pure realism.
Yeah.
But it does prompt the question of why these fantastical elements are so central to this particular story.
Well, let's talk about the takeaway then, the moral. Both our sources, the story, and the analysis, they seem to point to the value of hard work and planning.
Definitely.
The third pig's diligence in building his brick house is rewarded with safety, while the first two pigs' shortcuts, well, they lead to disaster. That message seems pretty clear-cut.
It is. The literal analysis even calls this life lesson solid. You know, the importance of foresight and effort leading to more secure outcomes. That's a valuable message.
Can't argue with that.
Even if the surrounding narrative involves some rather unbelievable wolf-related events. And the traditional story adds that nice touch at the end, right, with the first two pigs learning their lesson.
Oh yeah, they help build a bigger brick house or reinforce it.
Exactly. It emphasizes that idea of growth and learning from mistakes, which is also important.
So when we put the familiar fairy tale side by side with this purely factual examination, the contrast is pretty striking, isn't it?
It really is.
Yaha moments really hit when you start to question the wolf's almost cartoonish abilities, his super breath, and even the varying levels of construction expertise of our porcine protagonists.
Exactly. By applying this literal lens, we're not trying to, debunk a beloved children's story or ruin anyone's childhood.
Yeah, no.
But rather to highlight how narratives often operate outside the strict confines of reality. It encourages us to think critically about the stories we consume, even the ones we think we know inside and out.
It certainly makes you look at other familiar stories with a more questioning eye. What other hidden improbabilities might we find lurking in those tales? Cinderella's glass slippers, perhaps?
Huh. Don't get me started. But that's a fascinating thought for you, the listener, to take away. Considering all the literal leaps of faith required by the three little pigs.
The superpowered wolf breath, the miraculous survival of boiling water.
Right. What might be the deeper, perhaps metaphorical meaning behind these exaggerations? Could the wolf represent, I don't know, larger uncontrollable forces in life? Do the pigs' differing houses symbolize different approaches to managing risk and security?
Interesting.
And yeah, what other seemingly straightforward stories in your own life or just in the broader culture might reveal surprising insights if you were to examine them with a more critical and, yes, perhaps even a more literal perspective? Something to chew on.